I'm here with Oscar Sperlich, who is visiting my studio today. So I just took him and said, let's talk a little bit about some interesting stuff that Oscar is doing at the moment. You have your YouTube channel where you do classical monologues.
Yeah, classical. Yeah.
Classical monologues. Yeah. Shakespeare monologues.
Shakespeare monologues at the moment.
Yeah.
And
are you going to do other stuff?
I'm not quite sure. I'm going to continue doing Shakespeare material.
Okay.
But, so that's the main focus at the moment.
All right. Yeah. Good. So you've been doing Angelo from Measure for Measure.
Yes.
And
and King Richard II.
And King Richard. Yeah. It's a wonderful monologue for King Richard II. Yeah. Yes. Beautiful. Right. So what I wanted to talk about is something that I get a lot of questions about, and that is working with classical material and the difference, because we do so much modern material and sort of like in a realistic style. But what happens when you do classical material, which is of course a little bit more heightened? So what are your experience of you've chosen to work with classical material now? Why have you done that now?
I've chosen it because there's a physical demand on
like
it.
What?
Like I have to be, I have to physicalize much more, and I have to.
What do you mean physicalize?
I mean.
With the body, using the body.
Yeah.
All
using
right.
the body. Yeah.
All right.
And I also think that there is a life and death element to everything.
Yeah.
And then there's tons of research that needs to be done, which I really, really love. And
what type of research?
Well, partly historical.
Like real facts about these people?
Yeah.
Or if they are real people. I mean, Richard II is, but is Angelo, is that a real person?
No, he's not a real person, but I think he's based on some relationship. That was in the court at the time.
It usually is. Yeah.
And I mean, the facts are never accurate, I think, in Shakespeare.
No.
But he sort of freestyles with it and creates but it's I still think that it needs to be done. I need to know the research and custom and manners, and so that's the outer reality. There's a play element to it.
All right. Yeah.
So I become more like a child.
Playing. So it takes out your childlikeness.
Yes. Putting on costumes.
Yes.
that kind of element to it.
All right. Yeah. That's fun. Yeah.
I think about environment, physical environment as well. Physical environment is much more dangerous than in those days. Because of again with life and death. Yeah,
life wasn't so comfortable then.
No, exactly.
Especially not as it is for us here where we are. But I'm still curious. What is it inside of you? If you go a little bit deeper, that attracts. What was it? What is it?
That attracts me to classical material.
Yeah. Is it the dressing up, playing?
It's
No.
That's a part of it.
Yeah.
But it's I started out in theater.
Yeah.
When I was 17, and I wanted to go back to that.
Oh right.
So I didn't start out with classical material, but later on I wanted to be a classical theater actor.
Yeah.
And I applied for a school or a few different schools.
Yeah.
And I wasn't accepted.
Yes.
So I feel that there's partly a lack in my education because I didn't go to school, and I want to sort of get back at that by doing it myself, to find my own way.
Exactly. So there are a lot of things. I mean, I always say that everything is the same. Even if you do commercial, if you do Shakespeare, if you do modern TV series, if you do whatever, it's the same. It's the same thing. But there are some specificness, specific things in for example, Shakespeare and most classical theatre, which sort of trips up the inner work. A lot of it is about metaphors.
Yes.
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 So how do you approach that?
I see a metaphor as an image, and I try to interpret the meaning of the image.
Yes.
It is I that, lying by the violet in the sun, do as the carrion does, not as the flower, corrupt with virtuous season. This is from Measure for Measure.
Okay, yeah. Angelo, yeah.
So the violet in the sun is one image.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I have to look into what does that image mean to me, Angelo.
Exactly, starting with Angelo.
Yes, exactly. And so it's a competition between two ideals, or who's the most virtuous one.
Yes. And then the reason why Angelo is using the violet for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's a religious language.
Exactly.
Violet, where the violet is a symbol of innocence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And Angelo, use a religious metaphor for that. Why do you do that?
Because of who I am. I'm a religious, very religious, strictly religious man. I'm a judge, but religion plays so much into society.
Yeah.
And the question that I brought up in the play, that has to do with banning brothels.
Yes.
In the town.
So it's about elevating yourself from that.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you make your own metaphor?
Yeah, so I start out by translating just the image and the meaning of the image to me.
Yeah.
And then when I've done that a few times or tried out different things, it sort of changes by itself. So I begin thinking more in metaphor, like when I was going to work and I was sitting in the bus, I would think, okay, so this thing out there looks like, and then I would sort of fantasize, okay, how would I, so I'm sort of expanding my own language. Exactly,
yes.
In that sense.
Because there's a lot of, for us today, a lot of complicated language in this. And of course a lot of words that we don't use because language change. But also a way of using language that's part of the rhetoric, which was more common to use in specific circles at the time to talk like this. Because now, like people like today, like politicians and especially in Sweden, politicians tend not try to talk as normal as possible. But that wasn't the case. They were trying to talk as rhetorically good as. So how do you make that shift?
How do I make
in yourself? I mean, how to become that person who talks in this way?
I've thought about it as I'm a person of power.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
exactly.
And in both cases, I am a person of power. I'm a king and I'm a judge.
That's exactly. Yeah. And education.
Education, exactly.
Yeah. Which at that time was very it's
very rare. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it was that rare actually. When I mean the grammar school that apparently Shakespeare went to, which was sort of the normal grammar school in Stratford-upon-Avon. They had, the things that they had rhetoric and they had Greek and they had Latin and like normal school kids.
This is more than I know, yeah.
Oh, much more than we know, yeah. So I think that a lot of people were more educated at that time than we are today, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, classically and rhetorically and than we are.
How do I make that?
Yeah. How do you make? Because you've got to make that real for you, of course, to talk like this.
Yeah.
So how do you do that?
I went to places where in me where I feel that I come from a place of power. I could use, for instance, my day job, where experience that I have from there, where I've gotten my power back, or I've sort of elevated. I've gotten a sense of power from different situations and from working, and so I could. And my relationship, I also went to relationships with people.
Yeah.
Where I was in a more I'm higher. Power.
Is this when you use a substitution, or is this in relationship to language, or?
This is in relationship to language.
It's not the choice of substitution.
No,
okay.
It's not.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Just to get that experience.
I get it.
In a way, I need to blend that in.
Yeah.
With doing the other work.
Yeah. What about the text as such? I mean, because it's like it has certain rules with rhythm and the difficult language and so on.
Yeah.
How do you approach that? Do you do that before? Do you study the text before you do the inner work, or do you do it at the same time, or how do you afterwards? So how do you do it?
I've done it differently. On these two speeches, because I knew Richard II from long before. Yeah. So I didn't need to really do that. I could work on other things than verse. And I need to know the verse, the iambic pentameter. Yeah. But I think I want to treat it as how they spoke. Right. So it's just a common. How do you do that? Do you do the iambic pentameter? Do you sit down and do it? Figuring out saying one line. Yeah. Or one. How do you say that? Yeah. One line. Yeah. To see, okay, how would I punctuate? Yeah. How would I hit this? There's no mystery. No. It's just footwork, as I say. It's just doing it. Just and knowing the rules and knowing, because if you know the rules, of course, I'm going to break them, because Shakespeare breaks them in all the time. He breaks he does. And then when I know it, then I can work with things like opposites and that kind of thing. Yeah. Which is can give great. Say, nuance to. Oh yeah. That's how it's written again, because it's rhetorically written like that with opposites. Yeah. Okay, good. So what are your next plans? What are you attacking now? At the moment, I'm writing. Writing a third draft on 2 of my scripts, and then do you have a new classical character? I have a couple of classical characters. You don't want to talk more about that right now. Coming up, but it's for next year. Aha. Yeah. So I'm at the moment I'm writing and I'm preparing for the beginning of next year. Yeah. So see you again sometime. See you again. Yeah. Thank you for visiting in The Naked Actor Prepares. Yeah.